In this video, I'm going to run through in detail the quickest, easiest and neatest way to fit shutters in a standard recess window. This is the Easy Fit Shutter Kit. Preparation. Make sure you've got some space to work and unpack your boxes. You'll have one frame box and at least one shutter box per window. The shutters and frames aren't labelled themselves, so if you're unpacking multiple boxes, write the room name in pencil on top of the panels and frames. The louvers are always tilted upwards so they overlap the top rail and tuck into the bottom rail. The magnets will be at the back of the panel and the bottoms of the shutters are stamped. Fixings. Lay out the frame on the cardboard and ensure it's flat and free from dirt. Assemble the D1 fixings by screwing them into the inserts. Put a fixing in one of the holes and hammer it down flush using the wooden dowel. There's a hole one end that fits over the fixing. Continue to do this for all the fixing holes. Building the frame. Lay out the frame in order. It's marked left, right, top and bottom. Ensure the top is labelled in pencil behind the line. If you have T-posts, align and centralise the sliding plate and insert them into the frame and screw in the screws. T-posts are marked at the bottom with a label, T1, T2 or T3. They all go from the left, so T1 will be the far left T-post. To make sure the frames are all up the right way, do a quick visual check of the frames, ensuring the magnets and hinges are in the right place. So if the hinges are on the left, the magnets should be on the right. Use the white interlocking keys to connect the miters together in each corner. This is best done on a hard, flat surface. You can use something flat underneath each corner, or turn the frame over and insert the keys from the back, or lift the frame up and hammer the keys in flat. Either way, ensure the miters are flush at the front of the frame. Screw the corners together using the screws provided. Take care to ensure the miters are even and neatly together. The shadow tape. Unwrap the shadow tape, cut the end off at a 45-degree angle and stick it around the edge of the frame in line with the small groove. Pucker up the tape at the corners slightly to allow it to expand. Work your way around the whole frame and then cut the end of the tape at another 45-degree angle to match your first cut. Cutting the tape at an angle will stop the light coming through the join. If you don't get a neat cut, stick an extra piece of tape behind the join just in case. Cut 4 small pieces of tape about 30 to 40 mm long and stick them in the corners overlapping the edge of the frame. This will help stop any light creeping through the corners. Fitting the frame. Now the frame is prepared, you're ready to fit the frame into your recess. Lift the shutter frame into your window, ensuring the top of the frame is at the top. Angle and tilt the frame to make it easier to lift into the recess. If the recess is smaller at the front and the frame is tight to get in, you might need to try different angles. For a standard window with protruding handles, use the wooden spacing blocks to space the frame away from the window. Clip them onto the hinge so they miss the fixing hole and push the frame back so the blocks touch the window frame. If you don't have any protruding handles, or you have plastic trim, alarm points or vents, position the frame to where you measured, either flat against the window frame or in front of the handle, trim or vent. Alignment. Move the frame left or right so there's an equal shadow gap either side. Using your 2mm Allen key or driver, wind out the fixings on the left and the right side until there's an even gap at the top and bottom of the frame. Move the wooden spacing blocks to the top hinges and push the frame back so the blocks touch the window frame again. Wind out the left or right fixing until it hits the wall and the point of the fixing just digs in. Keep slight pressure on the frame, pushing it towards the window and the fixing so it doesn't move. Wind out the opposite fixing at the top so the point digs in. This will then secure the frame in place. Stand back and check there's an equal shadow gap all round. Adjust the fixings until you're happy with the spacing. At this point, the frame should be semi-fitted in the recess with just 2 fixings at the bottom and 2 fixings at the top, with an equal shadow gap all round. Check the frame is secure, then you're ready to lift the shutters into place. Fitting the shutters. Always start with the left-hand shutter, as the right-hand shutter can overlap the left with bifolding panels. Lift the left panel into the frame, bottom hinge first, and then the top hinge. Insert the hinge pins to connect them together. Do the same with the right-hand panel. Check there's an equal gap between the bottom of the panels and the frame. If you need to make any adjustments, loosen the hinge screws and move the panels up and down, and then re-tighten the screws. Do the same with any T-posts by loosening the screws and moving the post left or right to ensure equal gaps both sides. If you've already tightened your fixings, you might need a hammer to knock the T-post left or right slightly and then tighten up your screws. Remember, if you're opening the panels, the shutter frame is only lightly secured at this point, so support the weight of the shutters as you don't want the frame to move forwards. If you're unsure, just tighten the left and right fixings slightly more, especially on larger windows. It's important to get the clearance right between the shutters and frame before you start adjusting the shadow gap between the recess. To adjust the shadow gap and the shutter alignment, simply wind the fixings in and out. This is done gradually and equally each side. So to move the frame left, loosen the left fixing and tighten the right fixing. Remember to support the weight of the shutters while doing this. Tightening the right fixing will lower the right-hand shutter and move the left shutter up. Tightening the left fixing will lower the left-hand shutter and move the right shutter up. Securing the fixings. Once the shutters are aligned within the frame and there's an equal shadow gap all round, you can gradually tighten the rest of the fixings. Wind them out until they start to touch the wall. Tighten the opposite fixing and try and keep an equal pressure on them as you go. If you have T-posts, wind out the bottom fixings slightly, then the top. Alternate from top to bottom to get equal pressure and ensure the shutters don't move out of alignment. Gradually secure the rest of the fixings, checking as you go that the shadow gap and the shutter clearance doesn't move. On taller windows, you may need to put an extra mechanical fixing in the side using a raw plug, so in this case you will need to get your hoover out and drill some holes. On wide windows, you may need to put an extra fixing in the top or bottom frame. The D1 fixing will act as an adjustable packer, allowing you to get the perfect clearance. You don't need to over-tighten the fixings, they should be just hand tight. Finishing touches. Give the shutters a final visual check to ensure you have a neat gap and clearance between the recess and frame and shutters and frame. Once you're happy, you can screw the final hinge screws into place. You can wind the screws straight in if you're careful, drill a small pilot hole or use a bradawl to help. Place white cover caps over the fixing holes all round the frame. Finally, stick the Fitted with D1 fixing sticker over the bottom right hand corner hole so that you know how the shutters have been installed to help you with future removal of the shutters if you need to decorate. And that's how easy it is to install shutters. We always love to see photos of your shutters, so remember to share them on Facebook and leave us a review.